Hi, Smerconishers! Welcome back to Smerconish.com. This is the editor's report, and I'm your editor, Gili. So, this week, I think, has been one of the busiest weeks in news or for news ever, possibly ever. On Sunday, there was the Super Bowl. On Monday was the Iowa caucus that started off the Democratic nomination process for a candidate for this coming presidential election. On Tuesday, we had the State of the Union. On Wednesday, the Senate officially voted on the impeachment trial, which acquitted President Donald Trump. On Thursday was a little break, and today on Friday, there's going to be another Democratic debate for the presidential nominee. So a lot to cover. So let's get straight to it. I'm going to highlight some of the best of Smerconish.com's critical thinking original content. First, we have Richard Shaw, who wrote a piece called Nature May Have More to Do with Our Political Divide Than We Think, where he kind of dives deep into neuroscience and discusses why our biology and our genes can impact our political thoughts, our political opinions, and kind of can explain the divisiveness of the time. Then we have Mark Langer, who wrote the Iowa caucus non-results, highlight a need for a third party, where he kind of discusses why the two-party system in America and the primaries system in general isn't really working out for this modern democracy. Next, we have Corey Petchtel with Service Before Self, where he kind of makes the argument that more Congress members, more Senate members, more politicians in the United States government should be veterans. They should go through the U.S. Army because it gives them better values. So that's really interesting. Check that out. Then we have Dr. Emmanuel Truman. He wrote a piece called Why We Don't Follow Science Anymore, and he dives deep into the psychological reasons why we're more inclined to believe things that aren't necessarily based on fact because they're beneficial to us or beneficial to the people we know or the people we like. So that's really interesting and very relevant to the political divisiveness of our time. Then we have John Martiello, who wrote Well Done, President Trump. I Can Say That, Can You? And the title is a bit misleading because he is really critical of President Trump, but at the same time, the whole basis of the article is basically saying, I'm very critical of the president, but I can also learn when to say congratulations or a job well done when he succeeds in doing something good for the country. Then we have Dan Coonan, who wrote a piece called Dissecting the Yes, It Was Wrong, But Not Impeachable argument. Recently, Senator Lamar Alexander and Senator Susan Collins have gone on TV to multiple news outlets and kind of expressed that outlook on the Senate impeachment trial. And so Dan kind of breaks it down for us and kind of explains why it's illogical or hypocritical. Then we have Michael Archer, who wrote a piece called The Role of Journalists is Critical, where kind of the title gives it away. Journalism is changing a lot, but it's really important and critical to a democracy, and a democracy, one that looks like it's not doing so well, isn't so healthy. Then we have the one and only Michael Smerconish, who wrote about the impeachment in a piece called About Last Night. And lastly, I wrote a piece recently called Even After 75 Years, The Scars of the Holocaust Live On, where I kind of dive deep into the topic of inherited trauma, inherited psychological problems intergenerationally. And it's kind of a personal piece because I dive into my family's experience, Holocaust survivors, and how a political trauma, a collective trauma, and an individual trauma can actually be passed down genetically as well as through nurture. It's the nature and nurture question, but with a realistic lens about trauma and specifically about political trauma. So check out all that great original content at smerconish.com. And as always, please submit any of your ideas to editor@smerconish.com. We would love to work with you to develop more critical thinking essays because the world needs more opinions and more diversity. And lastly, hopefully you'll tune into Smerconish at CNN on Saturday and to SiriusXM POTUS every weekday. We love hearing from all of you And we love that you're listening. Thank you so much for everything and have a great week.